Calling all authors, the Your Book, Your Voice podcast with host Robert A. Lane features everything you need to know about narrating your audiobook. But it doesn't stop there. We have special guests lined up from all aspects of the book publishing industry, and we also dive deep into what it takes to be mentally prepared for success as an author and in life. So please welcome your host, Robert A. Lane.
All right, welcome, my friends. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane. If this is your first time tuning in, again, welcome. I am an audiobook coach and producer, and I specialize in helping nonfiction authors turn their great book. You know, if you're a nonfiction author and you've published this fantastic book of yours and it's out there in the world, it's time to take it to the next level. So what I do as an audiobook coach and producer is help nonfiction authors like yourself turn your book into an audiobook that you, as the author, narrate yourself, because nobody can tell your story better than you. You lived it, you've breathed it, you put your blood, sweat, and tears into it. You invested so much time and effort and energy and money and everything that you needed to do to publish your book. So it just only makes sense that you, as the author, narrate your own audiobook. I do have an audiobook coaching program, which is called Your Book, Your Voice. And this is where I coach you one-on-one and take you through the entire process of setting up your own recording space and then teaching you the fine art of narration and voiceover and how to do a compelling narration. And then we do all the editing for you, because after you record your audiobook, it does have to be edited and cleaned up. And most importantly, made sure that it meets the exact specifications for publication onto Audible, Amazon, and Apple, which I call the AAA. So we get you there for sure. And depending on what your marketing strategies are, if you do want to be distributed on other distribution platforms, we definitely help you with that as well. And we do all the uploading for you, so you don't even have to worry about that step. We take care of that for you. So you're number one guaranteed to be published and done right the first time. And that's what I do. And it's a 6-week program, and which I'll talk about in more detail a little bit later on. But if you are interested, by the way, you can schedule a call, because I talk to every author before I enroll anybody into the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program. So book a call if you like. You can go to the website at robertlanecoaching.com. We do have a little graphic that will pop on the screen for you to check out, which is my calendar link. And you can go ahead and schedule a call, which is a bit.ly link. It's bit.ly/audiobook onboarding. Okay, that is bit.ly/audiobook onboarding. And that goes to my personal calendar. You will speak to me directly, because I want to talk to every author first. And if my program resonates with you, we get you enrolled and you are off to the races. So that's what I do as an audiobook coach and producer. One more thing that I do want to share with you is that I always give away a freebie, which is an audiobook narration reference guide. And in this guide, I have some tools and techniques on how to do a great audiobook narration. And it covers both practical aspects, physical aspects, and also the intangibles, things that you can do to bring out your authenticity and your emotion and energy, things that you definitely need. Because I tell you, what makes a great audiobook are the ones that are authentic and that where you bring out your true authentic self. That's what makes a great audiobook. All right, so you can grab that narration guide. That link is bit.ly/narration reference guide. Pretty easy. bit.ly/narration reference guide. So grab your free guide. It's a little gift to you. It's a downloadable PDF that you can grab. And again, you can always grab these, get like that gift, and also to book your call on robertlanecoaching.com as well. But let's get into our topic for today. And it is 5 steps to audiobook narration awesomeness, right? Because you are awesome. You are. I believe in you 100%. You're a nonfiction author. You've written this great book, whether it's a memoir, whether it's a personal experience, whether it's a book about you and your coaching program, if you're a coach or an entrepreneur or maybe an educator or a teacher, and you have services and you have maybe products that you offer, but and you've written a book about it. Those are great things. And of course, narrating your own audiobook, you definitely need to do that, especially if you're a poet. I mean, who's going to recite your poetry? You are the author, because it's your poetry. Or maybe you've written children's books. That's another great thing, because your style of communicating is very unique, and I think as a children's author you should narrate your own audiobook as well. All right, so 5 steps to audiobook narration awesomeness. Let's dive right in. The first thing that I want to share with you is one that is incredibly important, and this is why I put it as number 1, and that is mindset. Mindset is key. Mindset is a factor that really has a bearing on whether you have a mediocre audiobook or you have one that's fan-frickin-tastic. Mindset is key. You have to be in the right frame of mind before you even hit the record button. And there are a lot of aspects about mindset that really do apply to doing a great audiobook narration. One of them would be whether you love your voice or whether you don't like your voice. And I hear this a lot, and I hear this from a lot of authors, and even with authors who do enroll in the audiobook coaching program that I teach. A lot of time we do talk about confidence, because confidence is key, and that's part of the mindset aspect. And a lot of authors are like, yeah, I just don't like how I sound. I don't like my voice. But you have to change that around. You have to love your voice. You have to embrace your voice, because that is part of what creates your author brand, and that's part of what makes you, you. Because your uniqueness and your voice actually is already in your written word. So when you do your audiobook narration, you just bring it to life. So love your voice and embrace that voice, okay? The other thing is, know your intentions. And I got a new catchphrase for you. I got all these catchphrases like, you are the CEO of you, because you are an entrepreneur. As a published author, you are an entrepreneur. Your author brand is your business, and your products, of course, are your ebook, paperback, hardcover, and of course, your audiobook. All right. So know your intentions. Be very intentional when you are getting prepared to narrate your audiobook. That's a key component of mindset. Know your intentions. So my little catchphrase is no intentions, no distractions, right? No intentions, K-N-O-W, know it, know your intentions. No distractions, N-O, no distractions. So make sure you are focused. And what that means really is that you are focused, and that you are in the present mind, right? Present moment. That you aren't thinking about the past, you aren't thinking about the future, you're not letting anything else distract you from doing a great audiobook narration. Being focused and in the present moment is key. Being grounded mentally is key. That's why mindset is so important and so crucial in regards to doing a great audiobook narration. Another thing, of course, is refamiliarizing yourself with your book. Now you're like, yeah, I know my book. I wrote my book. But when you start to do your narration, you really want to just dive in again, refamiliarize yourself with your book, especially when it comes to your energy and your emotion and the arc of the story that you're telling. Now, when you record your audiobook, you are doing it in sections. So that does make it a little bit easier. So you will take it, piece by piece. So if you're working on chapter 1, for example, read that chapter, really get into it, and tap into the emotional feeling, the energy, everything that's tied into that chapter that you're planning to record. Really dive into it and really wrap your head around that, because that energy and that emotion, again, are key factors to creating a great audiobook and doing a great audiobook narration. So really be familiar with your book again. And another really important factor that does fall into this mindset category is always be tapped in to your core reason. your why. You hear this a lot, with a lot of coaches who say, you got to tap into your why. What is your why? And really, that doesn't it really applies to your audiobook because you tapped into it already. What was the core reason of why you wrote your book in the first place? That's what you're tapping into. You're tapping into that energy again. You have a story that you were so compelled to tell that you wrote this book and you published this nonfiction book to get it out there in the world so that people can hear your story and benefit from the story that you have to tell. So, for example, right now I'm working with an author who's going through the audiobook coaching program, and she is telling her story about how she got pulled into a cult. And it's riveting. It's very emotional, and it's just an incredible story. So we talk a lot about that because the situation that she was in, using her story as an example, uh, you want to tap into that emotion and energy, but she also needs to not allow what she's saying to trigger an emotion that just overcomes or overpowers her and throws her back into a very intense and negative situation. And so she understands that there is a boundary or a line to not cross that pulls you into that really, really dark space. But she knows how to, and we do talk about this as part of, again, the preparation before she does her narration, is just understanding that you do want to tap into the emotion because you want your listener to be able to feel that emotion, but you can do it in subtle ways that's not going to end up being a trigger. So that's another aspect of mindset and why mindset is so important. And this really is important not only for you as an author, as a nonfiction author, but just in life in general. To have yourself in the right mindset for anything that you set yourself to do, that you set your sights on doing, whatever goals that you're trying to reach, being in the right frame of mind makes all the difference in the world. So again, mindset is key. Having confidence in your voice, loving your voice, appreciating your voice, because that's part of your author brand and what makes you unique. Because when you are maybe talking about a topic that maybe a lot of people talk about, maybe by you being your authentic self, that makes all the difference in the world. It makes all the difference in the world because that's what allows you to stand out in a crowd, because you are being authentic and you are being your true self. All right. So be present, be focused, be authentic, love your voice, build that confidence, break down any barriers that are stopping you from, even if you'd like, wow, I don't even know if I want to narrate my own book. No, you do. You do narrate your own book. Break down those barriers. If there's something that's stopping you, if it's, I hate my voice, then sit down and write out 10 affirmations of why you love your voice, why you have a great voice, why there is no one else more qualified for you to narrate your own audiobook. Create affirmations. I know, a lot of people say this, but you know what? It really does make a difference, because when you write down some affirmations, I have a great voice. I love my voice. I am a great narrator. I have an awesome story to tell. No one can tell my story better than me. Whatever those affirmations are, write them down and say them. And you continue to say them until you feel it, right? Say it till you feel it. Because that way, once you feel it, then you know for sure that these positive affirmations are now ingraining themselves into your subconscious. And your subconscious will then believe you and say, hey, you know what? Yeah, I am a great narrator. I have a great voice. I love the story that I wrote. My nonfiction book is awesome. And there's nobody on this planet, nobody in the universe who can tell my story better than me, because I lived it. I breathed it. I created it. That's where you want to be. And that's where your mindset needs to be. All right. So love and embrace your voice, knock down these barriers, refamiliarize yourself with your book, and really, just love it and get involved in it and tap into that core reason of why you wrote your book in the first place. All right. That is number one for creating audiobook narration Awesomeness. We're going to take a quick break. We got 4 more things I want to share with you that are crucial for you to reach that audiobook narration awesomeness goal. So don't go away. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane. Again, I'm an audiobook coach and producer. You can find out more about what I do at robertlanecoaching.com. We're going to talk about who are you talking to? That's number 2. And we're going to dive into that when we come back. We are streaming live, by the way, on the Bold Brave TV network. Don't go away.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them. Rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies. Find settings that allow them to be the most productive and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
All right. Welcome back. You are in tune to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. You can find out more about what I do as an audiobook coach and producer at robertlanecoaching.com. By the way, we are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. If you're catching the live stream right now, then you are more than welcome to join in if you have any questions about the audiobook world. Again, the topic today are 5 steps to audiobook narration awesomeness. So if you have any comments or questions about that, by all means, you can comment, or you could even call in live at 1-866-451-1451. We have that phone number up on the screen there, 866-451-1451. Also, again, just to because I always seem to forget to do this. I do it at the beginning and forget about it during the broadcast. So I want to give you your freebie. So I do have an audiobook narration reference guide that you can download. It's a little PDF download that has some really cool tools and techniques to help you do a great narration, how to be authentic, and some of the practical aspects too, physical aspects as well. So you can download your free audiobook narration reference guide as my free gift to you. That link again is bit.ly/narration reference guide. And grab your copy there, bit.ly/narration reference guide. Again, you can grab that at robertlanecoaching.com as well. But there you go. Just wanted to share that with you. Now, we are talking about 5 steps, right? 5 steps to audiobook narration awesomeness, because you are awesome. You really are. Embrace your awesomeness. You should always do that. You should always do that because you're a nonfiction author. Here's something that you need to embrace 100%. You are a nonfiction author. You've written a book. You've published a nonfiction book. So embrace your entrepreneurship. Embrace the fact that you are a business. This is your author brand. That is your business. Embrace it. Embrace entrepreneurship because, again, you are the CEO of you. You're the boss. All right? You're the boss. So great things that you can do for your author brand if you don't have an audiobook, is narrating your own audiobook, which is why I wanted to give you five key factors to doing a great audiobook narration. So the second thing, and I mentioned this before our break, is know who you are talking to. Okay, number one, of course, is mindset. Very important. Number two is knowing who you're talking to. And that does, of course, fall into the category of what is your expertise, what is the genre, what is the demographic, what is the age range, of the people that you are talking to in your book. If it's very specific to a specific group, then great. But I want you to take this one step further, okay? And that is understanding not only who you're talking to from a genre standpoint, but who are you talking to specifically? Who is the one person that you can think of that if you were sitting in a coffee shop and you have this great story, which is your book, okay, and you want to tell somebody this fantastic story, who would be the one person that you can sit down with and share your story and feel 100% comfortable telling this person your story and bringing all that energy and excitement and emotion to telling that story to this one specific person? Because when you have somebody specific in mind, that really ties into conversation, right? Being more conversational, but most importantly, being authentic. And again, that does stem back to point number one, which was the mindset aspect, being your authentic self. So having somebody specific in mind really does help. Maybe it's your significant other, your wife, your husband, your partner. Maybe it's a friend. Maybe it's a relative. Maybe it's a coworker, just somebody that you're really comfortable in talking to. Have that specific person in mind. I mean, you could even get a picture of them and paste it on your computer so that you see them. So when you are doing your audiobook narration, you're looking at that person, right? You're talking to them. And that really actually helps you stay grounded and focused and in the present moment, because now you're talking to somebody directly. Another way that you can look at this is from the music standpoint, okay? This is the analogy that I want to give you. If you're at a concert and you're watching your favorite band or your favorite solo artist, and there's this one song that just, man, it just touches your heart. You love this song. And when they sing it, you feel like that person is singing this song directly to you because it just, touches your heart. That's where you need to be in your audiobook narration. And I'll tell you, that artist 9 out of 10 times does have somebody specific that they are singing the song to, or they are very focused in, maybe if it's not a specific person, they do have somebody in mind, or maybe a group of people in mind, depending on what the song is, of course, that they are singing this song to. And when they do it, they are bringing that emotion and that feeling and all that energy forward in their performance. And that performance is why if you're in a 20,000 seat arena, every person that's sitting next to you feels like that artist is singing directly to them. And that's the connection that you want to establish when you're doing your audiobook narration. You want your listener to feel like, wow, man, this author is telling the story directly to me. Like, I feel like I'm sitting right there with them as they're sharing this story. And especially, again, if you are a coach or an entrepreneur and you have a product or service that you offer, you want that listener to feel like you're coaching directly to them. And they feel like, wow, this coach, this entrepreneur, this educator, this teacher is talking directly to me. They're sharing their concepts with me. And that is a great connection. And that is a connection that you want to establish throughout the entire audiobook, okay? So being authentic, being your authentic self. And of course, when you are being your authentic self, you are being conversational. And being your authentic self also, again, makes you stand out in the crowd because that's who you are. Every person is unique. Your style of talking, your pacing, all that comes through in your audiobook narration. And that's what makes you stand out, because that's what makes you you. That's your uniqueness. And because of your uniqueness is why you do stand out in a crowd, because you have nuances and subtleties in the way you speak and the way you express yourself that really, again, tailors the not only authenticity but uniqueness of who you are. So that's what you're bringing forward. Okay. The other thing, of course, in regards to knowing who you're talking to and being very specific, is also going over the practical applications of getting yourself prepared for doing your audiobook narration. And what that means is the physical aspects, mic placement, uh, body posture. Being in good postural form really does help you with your audiobook delivery. Whether you're standing, whether you're sitting, it makes a difference. It's again, comparing it to a band or an artist or singer. They don't sit there and they're all kind of hunched over and just whatever like that. They're upright because they want to be able to draw on the air and fill their diaphragm and belt those notes out. The same thing, again, conceptually with doing an audiobook narration. Now, you don't have to sit there and belt out a tune, but you do want to have good postural form, keep your feet flat on the ground, shoulder width, and then it allows you to draw in the air that you need and then do the delivery that you need to do, especially when you are taking your listener through that journey of your story. There is arcs, right? There's ups and downs and story arcs as you are telling your story, even if it's a memoir or something very personal. You're taking your listener through that storyline, through that process. And that's just a really beautiful thing. And the way to do that, of course, is having proper mic placement. So for example, I'll grab my mic over here for a sec. Just use it. If you're too close to the mic or you're too far away from the mic, that's going to make a difference in how you sound. So you need to be aware of these things when you're doing your audiobook narration. Okay. So again, know who you're talking to, have somebody specific in mind, and then just be aware of, again, mic placement, body posture. Oh, and the other thing, this is huge, hydration. Make sure you're hydrated because you don't want to have a lot of mouth noises or just extraneous sounds because your mouth is dry. That doesn't make for a good listening experience for your listener who's listening to your audiobook. All right. So that's point number 2. And really it is know who you're talking to. More so than just genre, have somebody specific in mind. So number 1, mindset. Number 2, know who you're talking to. And number 3 is a very, very, very important aspect, and that is practice. Practice, 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 practice. You have to practice your narration. Now, again, the beauty about doing an audiobook is that it is done in sections. So, for example, when I published my book a couple of years ago, I obviously turned this into an audiobook because I'm an audio guy. But the beauty about doing this is that each chapter, each section of your book is a separate audio file. So you don't have to feel like, oh my God, I got to sit there and I have to like read this entire book in one sitting. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You do it sections at a time. So, for example, my book has 14 chapters. Well, that's 14 separate audio files. The book that I'm working on right now has 58 chapters. All right. So that's 58 separate audio files that this author is recording. May sound overwhelming, but you know what? It really is a blessing because you are just doing each part of that book a section at a time. So you don't have to feel overwhelmed about, oh man, I gotta do all this in one sitting. No, you don't. And then you have your opening credits, closing credits, prologues, epilogues, foreword, introduction, dedication page, acknowledgments. There's a lot of sections of your book, but you are recording them separately, one file at a time, one audio file at a time. And it does make it so much easier for you to do your narration. So when you're getting ready to record, right, you're in the right mindset, you know who you're talking to, grab the chapter that you're going to be recording, if it's chapter 1 or chapter 15 or wherever you are in your audiobook, practice that chapter. Practice, dive into it, tap into all the emotions and the feelings and everything that compelled you to write that chapter in the first place, right? You wanted to tell this section of your story. Practice it, get used to it, make sure it's flowing properly, make sure you're comfortable with it. And remember, since you're loving and embracing your voice, right? You're loving and embracing your voice, love that voice, it's all part of your author brand. You got that down. Now you just need to refamiliarize yourself again with your book and practice it. Go over it, because that does make all the difference in the world, because you don't want to sound reedy and you don't want to sound monotone. So when you are in the right mindset, you're ready to go, you're in the present moment, you have that specific person that you're talking to, right? Here we are. Number 3 is just practicing that section or chapter or whatever section of your book that you're going to be recording. And then again, as I mentioned earlier, you're always tapped into your core reason of why you wrote your book in the first place, because you're going to bring that out. You're always tapped into that, okay? And the other thing that you're going to be doing when you're practicing is you're going to be very aware of your pacing, very aware of your diction, making sure that your pronunciations are good and that it flows freely. There's a couple other things that I do want to touch on in regards to the practicing aspect of doing a great audiobook narration, but we do have to take another break. Quick break. Don't go away, all right? You are listening to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I am your host, Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. You can go to robertlanecoaching.com to find out more information about the audiobook coaching program that I teach, which is called Your Book, Your Voice. It's a 6-week program that we take you all the way from setup and preparation to narration to publication. All right, so don't go away. We're going to touch on 1 or 2 more aspects of the practice aspect of the 5 things of doing a great audiobook narration. We're streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network, and we'll be right back.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like, it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. Yeah, it feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
All right, this is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. Again, thank you so much for joining me on this episode as we are talking about the 5 steps to audiobook narration awesomeness, because you are awesome. You really are. You should be proud of the fact that you have written and published a nonfiction book, and now you're going to take it to the next level by turning it into an audiobook that you narrate, as you should, because no one can tell your story better than you, hands down. All right. Matter of fact, if you are interested in speaking with me about the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program and how you can be published on Audible, Amazon, and Apple and any other distribution platforms if that does work with your marketing strategy, and be published within, by the end of the 6-week program, then book a call with me. Book a call with me. I'd love to speak with you, find out more about your book, and I'll give you more details about the program as well. So schedule a call. 2 ways you can do it. One, of course, is to go to robertlanecoaching.com and book your call there, or you can just go to my calendar link. This is a direct link where you will speak to me directly, and that is at bit.ly/audiobook onboarding. Okay, bit.ly/audiobook onboarding. You can book your call that way as well. I'd love to speak with you and hear about your nonfiction book. All right, we're talking about the 5 steps to audiobook narration awesomeness. Number 1 being mindset. Number 2, knowing who you're talking to. Number 3, of course, is practice. And one more thing that I did want to share with you in regards to practice is that when you do practice, it does bring out your authenticity. It does help with your pacing and diction, of course, but being conversational, it really brings that out. And you need to be conversational because that's how you are being your authentic self. But you also need just to be aware of clarity, making sure that you're being clear in telling your story, okay? That's just something that will help get that story across, keeping your listener engaged from opening credits to closing credits, and just, having them on the edge of their seat, enjoying this wonderful story that you are telling. And remember, only you can tell your story the way that you intended to be heard. All right. So I just wanted to just hit home on that, on the practice aspect, and that is just being clear in telling your story. Okay. The next step, number 4, is consistency. Consistency is the glue that holds everything together. And of course, there's 2 aspects of being consistent. One, again, is practical. The practical aspects. Again, mic placement, making sure your levels are consistent throughout, that, one chapter isn't blaringly loud and the other chapter is way too quiet. So mic placement, how you are positioning yourself in front of your mic, is very, very important. Again, as I mentioned, some of the other aspects like posture, hydration, that I mentioned during the practice aspect, but those are very important. And just being very aware of your surroundings, okay? Being aware of your surroundings, being aware of what's going on in the ambiences around you in the room that you're recording in, all right? So you have to be aware, all right? You have to be aware. If you're recording, first of all, no distractions. Like I said at the beginning of the show, know your intentions, no distractions. You can't have any distractions. All right. So take that cell phone and toss it out of the room. You don't want any distractions when you're recording your audiobook. If you're set up in your house or you have an office or whatever place that's comfortable for you to record your audiobook, make sure if there are other people in the place that you're recording at, tell them, hey, next couple hours, don't disturb me. I'm working on my audiobook, so that you can focus and just really be in the right mindset before you hit that record button, so that you're in the right frame of mind and ready to go. All right, without having anybody come in, opening a door, slamming a door, talking real loud, making lots of noise. So again, you have to be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of your ambience, which also means if you're recording and the gardener shows up and he fires up that leaf blower, or they're mowing the lawn, you don't want that coming into your microphone, because it will pick it up, right? Just be aware of these things, all right? If there's things happening outside, if there's a plane that flies by, if there's a big truck that drives by that just shakes the house or the apartment that you're in and causes sound vibration, your microphone is going to pick that up. So just be aware of that. And you know what? If it happens, just stop. Don't get frustrated. Don't get irritated. Just wait till that sound passes and then just dive right back in. All right. Keep positive. Don't let these things, piss you off. You don't want to do that, because you don't want to bring that energy into your audiobook narration. Just let it pass and then just get right back into it. Another thing in regards to consistency is just, well, this is really important. It's the intangibles, the emotion, the energy, the things that people feel emotionally. All right. It's not those things that you can physically touch, but it's the things that you can emotionally feel. You want to be consistent from opening credits to closing credits. You have to be consistent with your energy and emotion. Now, obviously, when you're talking about story arcs and maybe an intense part of the story or a funny part of the story or a sad part of the story, yes, there will be ups and downs in the emotional level, but being consistent with that means not being overly excited, overly emotional to where it becomes jarring for the listener, going, "Wow, okay, it's a little too much," or that's really trying to push it home a little bit too much. We don't want to do that. All right. But you do want to be consistent. Okay. The other thing is in regards to not only with your ambiances and just being aware of your surroundings, you have to be aware of your physical self. All right. Narrating an audiobook does take a lot of energy. Even if you are a speaker, if you do speaking engagements, that's great, right? That does help when you're doing your narrations. However, it's a different beast, right? Doing a speaking engagement taps into a different energy than doing an audiobook narration. It is different. I have authors who are speakers who've gone through the program who, at first are like, I do speaking gigs all the time. So this should be a piece of cake. And then when they dive into it, they realize it is different. It is tapping into a different energy. It is doing your narration and your delivery in a different way. When you deliver your audiobook narration, it's not the same as when you deliver the speaking engagement, right? It's just a whole different thing. There are aspects that are similar, but the energy is different. Okay. So just be wary of that. And again, if you are starting to get tired, if you are starting to sound fatigued, step away, take a break. Just relax, take a break, get refocused, get regrounded. If your voice is feeling tired, because remember, we are talking about consistency. You don't want somebody listening to, chapter 1 and it sounds one way, and then now you're doing chapter 2 and your energy was different, your voice sounds different. Maybe you had a sore throat, but you went ahead and you were trying to record your audiobook anyway. Don't do that. Give yourself an opportunity to be healthy, to sound strong and focused and be consistent throughout the entire audiobook process. If you're feeling tired, if you're feeling fatigued, if you're just not in the right frame of mind, again, going back to step number 1, which is mindset, if you're not feeling it emotionally, then take a break. All right. Then go back to it the next day. Because again, you have to be consistent. All right. You have to be consistent. It's very important. So you have the practical aspects of it, and you have the intangibles, the emotional and energy aspects. And then, of course, just being aware of your surroundings and being aware of your own body and how you feel, because you don't want to be fatigued. All right. You don't want to sound rough and gruff. You want to give your best performance. Because again, if your energy is low and it's off and you're feeling tired, your narration is going to come off reedy and it's going to sound like you're just reading a book. And you don't want to sound that way. You want to present your authentic self, your unique personality. And that, again, encompasses who you are and what your author brand is all about. Your author brand encompasses every aspect of who you are. And that's what you're bringing out in your audiobook narration. All right. So tap into that. All right. Tap into that. So here we go. That's four aspects. We're getting there, right? Number 1, of course, mindset. Number 2, know who you're talking to. Number 3, practice. You got to practice. Number 4, you have to be consistent. All right. Again, 5 steps of audiobook narration awesomeness. Number 5, we're going to get to after we take our last break. But we are going to talk about one thing that is really important, and that is quality. All right. We're going to dive into quality because quality is king, right? You got to give your best. And we'll talk more about how to do that when we come back. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. You can find out more information about the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program that I teach, which is a 6-week program that you as a nonfiction author can narrate and publish your book by the end of the 6-week period. You really can. And it will be awesome because you are awesome. And remember, no one can speak your story better than you. All right. So don't go away. We're streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. We're going to talk about quality next. And that is number 5 on our 5 things or 5 steps to create audiobook awesomeness when it comes to your narration. All right. Don't go away. We'll be back.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them. Rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies. Find settings that allow them to be the most productive and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
All right, welcome back. We are here on the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. Thank you so much for hanging out today. Today we're talking about the 5 steps to audiobook narration awesomeness. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. We are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. And again, I do appreciate you hanging out. Now, we talked about the first 4, which number 1 is mindset, very important. Number 2 is knowing who you're talking to, and that is being very specific. So when you're doing your narration, you have somebody specific in mind that you're telling your story to. Number 3, very important, you got to practice. Well, all these are important, of course, but practice. Got to practice whatever section you're going to be recording. Whatever day you're working on, I'm going to work on chapter 3 today. Well, then practice that chapter, really get yourself, into everything that you're talking about that's in that chapter, tap into your core reason of why you wrote that chapter, and then you're ready to go. All right, let's see. Number 4, consistency. You got to be consistent from opening credits to closing credits so that the listener isn't going to be shocked or jarred or go, wow, this chapter just sounds a little funky to me. It doesn't sound the same like the other one I listened to. You don't want that. You got to be consistent with your delivery, with the practical aspects of, with your levels and all those things that you need to do physically to do a great audiobook narration. And of course, the intangibles, the emotion and the energy that you're bringing to your audiobook narration. And let's see, so we got practice, consistency. Number 5, we are number 5. And number 5 is quality. Now, I mentioned about quality before the break. And really, what that boils down to is never, ever cut corners. Don't be taking the easy way out, all right? You've put too much hard work and effort in creating the nonfiction book that you've published in the first place. Don't cut corners on your audiobook, all right? This is why you, as the author, narrate your own audiobook, because no one can tell your story better than you. You are the most qualified person to narrate your audiobook. not another narrator. It doesn't matter how professional they are. They are going to interpret your book the way that they see it and the way they read it. Not that they're bad. There's great narrators that are out there. Of course there are. But when it comes to your nonfiction book, nobody can tell that story better than you. And their inflections, the way they interpret certain segments or words or phrases or sections of your book may not be the way that you would do it. So again, that's why you need to narrate your own audiobook. And definitely don't go the AI route. It's not even you. It's a misrepresentation of who you are. Because remember, your author brand is everything that encompasses the person that you are. What are you going to do? Use AI, something that's a fabrication? That's not even a representation of who you are? I mean, that just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. That's not you. And you're cheapening your author brand if you do that. I mean, even if you do, there's companies out there that do voice cloning. So what are you going to do? Clone your voice and then claim that that's you? Well, I'll tell you, that just takes away your credibility. And you've worked too hard to be the expert in your field. You've worked too hard to create your author brand, to present something that is a credible source that people trust and believe in you. So don't try to pull the wool over their eyes because you don't want to put in the work. All right. That's where quality comes in. You need to do the best that you possibly can do and never cut corners in quality. And that comes to recording, that comes to your narrating. After your audiobook is narrated, you have to have it edited. You have to have an editor go through it, and not just some company who says, oh, well, we'll clean it up. And then they run it through some app or some program that may take away and clean up the sound. But you know what? They're not listening to the nuances and subtleties. What if there's a mispronounced word? What if there is too much of a gap between a sentence? What if there's a sentence that's rushed? What if there are other things that are happening in your delivery that's not going to be caught if it's just because someone threw it through a program that supposedly cleans up your files? That's not good enough. It's not good enough. And that's a company, if someone does that, they're cutting corners, okay? And that's not good. You don't want that, all right? You just don't want that. And the other aspect of your editing, of why your audiobook needs to be edited, is that there are very specific specifications that your audiobook needs to meet for publication. Because if it doesn't, you're just going to get rejected. Audible, Amazon, Apple will reject your audiobook. Any other distribution platform, if it does not meet the exact specs, it's going to be rejected and you won't get published. All right. You don't want that to happen. So again, do not cut corners. All right. Quality is key. This is a representation of who you are as an author. You are a brand, right? You're the CEO of you. So why would you make an executive decision to cut corners? That doesn't make sense. You are the CEO of you. You have a great author brand. People trust you. You're the expert in your field. You want to maintain that, all right? You want to maintain that. So quality is king, definitely, all right? So just to review, mindset, number one, important. Knowledge on who you're talking to, very important. That's number two. Number three is practice. Number four is consistency. Number five is quality. So just keep that in mind, because if you have those 5 steps in creating audiobook narration awesomeness, that's exactly what you're going to get. Audiobook narration awesomeness, 100%. Now, just to touch a little bit on what I do as an audiobook coach and producer, I do have an audiobook coaching program that is called Your Book, Your Voice. We coach you, or I should say, I coach you one-on-one. We work together one-on-one through the entire process. I provide you with the professional equipment that you need to set up your own recording space and show you how to do it. And the equipment that I send you is not cheap because, again, I am a big advocate of not cutting corners. So I send you the best of the best when it comes to equipment. And it's yours to keep, right? Microphone, headphones, all that stuff, it is yours to keep. That's part of the program. So we help you set up your own recording space, and then we go to the next step, which of course is doing your audiobook narration, making sure you are great, you sound compelling and engaging and conversational and authentic. And then I got 22 plus years experience as an editor, so you don't have to look for an editor. I take care of that for you. I do all the editing for you, and I upload your files for you for publication. So the only thing you need to worry about is just doing a great narration. So the only step you need to do is just schedule a call with me. Go to robertlanecoaching.com, book a call with me. Let's talk about your book, and let's get you enrolled, because you deserve to have your book told in your own voice. All right. So with that, my friends, we're going to wrap things up. One quick assignment for you is this. When you're out and about in the world, my friends, smile at a stranger, say hello to them, give them a compliment, because that small gesture of kindness can make the world of difference in somebody's life. So be good humans, all right? Thanks again for joining the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. Again, go to robertlanecoaching.com for more information about what I do as an audiobook coach and producer. Appreciate you hanging out. Thank you again. We're streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. We'll be talking to you next week at this same time here on the podcast. Have a great day. Have a great week. Take care, my friends.
This has been Your Book, Your Voice with host Robert A. Lane. Tune in each week for another powerful and informative episode of Your Book, Your Voice, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network.